Welcome to Money Hacks, where we offer tips for the newcomer to the financial investment scene. Hi everyone, I'm Ernest Lewis and my co-host is the Business Times digital editor Christopher Lim. Now for this episode, we are with Mr Anson Zeall, the chairman of the Association of Cryptocurrency Enterprises and Startups, or ACCESS for short. Now Anson, today there's this hype over Bitcoin. It's cryptocurrency that has become the fastest growing segment of the global financial world. Now, let me give you this scenario. Say I'm an adventurous, wide-eyed millennial investor. I'm looking for something hip and happening to invest in, get my friends excited about it, share about my experience on Facebook, Instagram. What do I do to start in this sphere of investment here in Singapore? How can I get started? What are the steps that are needed? Tell us.
Well, the very first thing before getting in as an investor in the different cryptocurrencies or blockchain is to understand what blockchain technology is. Okay, there's a vast amount of information. Just like how I started, I actually watched a lot of videos on YouTube to understand different viewpoints on what people think cryptocurrencies are, what blockchain is. Because the very first time when I read Satoshi Nakamoto's paper, which is the founder of Bitcoin, although we don't know who he is, maybe it's a group of people, it's a she, we actually don't know. I had no idea what the paper was talking about. I have a computer science background as well. Okay, so even with that, I watched a lot of videos, joined different communities. Most important is to join the community, then start understanding. But one thing that really made me really understand what Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies are is once I did my very first transaction. When my friend just sent even 0.001 Bitcoin, back then was less than $1 to me, I understood because I then saw on my phone, back then computer, transaction came in. I then went on to the blockchain site to see the transactions. Only once you start doing it, then you understand.
This was when it started in 2009, right?
It started in 2009. I got to know about Bitcoin in 2013. That was when it was still around $50 or so.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So you were in this exact same scenario which I posted only a few years ago.
The difference is back then was like less than $50. Now it reached $20,000. So the problem here is right now people see that the price goes up. They are more attracted by the price. But we still have to emphasize the fact it's the technology behind that gives value to that cryptocurrency. Okay, it's what Bitcoin can do as a technology. The use case is trying to solve that gives it value. There are a lot of copies these days, so it's more important to understand what the blockchain technology for this particular cryptocurrency that it's trying to solve. What problems it's trying to solve. We need to know that. Okay, don't just go in because of the price. Because just like a stock, you need to know its earnings, what it's trying to solve, who its competitors are. It's exactly the same thing you have to know here.
Okay, you have this website, ACCESS. When I go onto it, I actually see an advisory there to anyone who visits the website. It states that investors should remember that volatility is a two-way street. What's the kind of mindset that you need to be aware of? There are a number of FAQs over there. Can you tell us more about for the mindset that is important for a first-time investor?
Okay, So just to remind you, even though our name ACCESS only has the word cryptocurrency, our main thing is not only to push cryptocurrency, but the blockchain technology used in existing enterprises or new startups and so on. So to answer your question, ACCESS is the voice of the community. Even though the site, needs to be updated, I apologize for that. We're not an advisory service. It's more like we're trying to be the voice for all the different companies and enthusiasts alike. So in ACCESS, we have over 190 members now, over which nearly 100, actually over 100 are companies. Companies that are small, that just starting, companies that just did very large ICOs and so on. But for ACCESS, we have a Telegram group for non-members and members that they can join to ask about what cryptocurrencies are, what blockchain is. Obviously, when you join as a member, we have a member-only group.
And the memberships apply from individual to corporates, right? Even students, I understand.
Yes, because believe it or not, the students are actually not students today. They do a lot of their own research. Some of them I know are actually very early investors in ICOs as well. I don't know if I should call that fortunate or unfortunate. Okay, but my point is, when you talk to students, some of them actually know their stuff. Okay, they actually know. My main concern are actually the seniors that come in to invest. But for students, I actually, even for every workshop, teaching blockchain technology is still the main thing I tell people that it's important to know. So students are welcome to join. So we have a MOU signed with both SUSS, Singapore University of Social Science, and today we just signed with Singapore Polytechnic as well. So most important, what we're seeing is students, from a technology standpoint, they can get quite creative with what they want to do.
Interesting that you mentioned concern about seniors entering cryptocurrencies and the importance of understanding the underlying technology. But isn't that a barrier to entry then? If you're a senior, it's usually harder to grapple with new technologies and really understand it before jumping in. If you're in your 50s or 60s, does that rule out cryptocurrencies then for you? How many 50-year-olds or 60-year-olds who don't have a computer science background can really just jump into this and really understand?
That's my main concern, because they don't have enough knowledge and they're just coming in to speculate on the cryptocurrencies, which as an association, as a whole group, we actually discourage. I won't think it's a barrier to entry, because all the information, even myself, I learned everything online. YouTube, even my grandparents, they go on YouTube to watch videos. So actually, in terms of learning about blockchain, it's equal for everyone. It's just how much you want to go in depth to learn. Because as a student, you're coming out, you're looking for a job, or even wanting to start a startup, you have the urge to learn without the financial burden and so on. Some of the seniors may, especially I know that some of them are trading for a living, someone into early retirement, are just coming in just to speculate. And these are the ones that we are most concerned and discourage.
What do you think of some economists saying that you should look at cryptocurrency investment as perhaps a sort of entertainment? You don't take it too seriously. Does that tie into one of the pieces of advice that you have on your website, which is to either know that you're going to substantially lose an amount of it, or be prepared that you might lose this investment completely?
You must assume that your investment will go to zero. Okay, this is key in this investment. Even when we're doing an ICO right now at this point, even our pre-sale investors or the early investors, we have to tell them that you must assume that it will go to zero. Even my current startup, my early angel investors, which some of them are quite close, they also assume that when they invest in my startup, it will go to zero. Same mindset as if you're investing in a startup.
How do people react when you tell them that?
The ones that understand, have invested in startups or have been in angel investment before, they're fine. If the ones that react saying, wow, it will go to zero, we actually don't want them as an investor anyway.
So you actually can tell by their reaction whether or not they're ready to step into this.
Exactly, yes.
Do you find a range of profiles that come in for the workshops that you offer? They want to find out more about getting into cryptocurrency investment. Chris played the scenario of seniors. I played the scenario of young millennials and all that. What's the average profile of your workshop?
So the scene has moved quite fast. Before, when we were doing these workshops, from moms to even bankers. But now we are actually reaching a critical point where a lot of companies did fundraising through ICOs. They need to employ. So now the association is focused on helping the government do a good framework for our members, as well as helping placements for companies. So unfortunately, we only have that much time on our hands. Our current priority is to actually find and groom blockchain developers into placement, rather than doing more awareness now.
What about the individuals that attend the workshops? I mean, do you see a different range of ages there?
Oh, yes. From even polytechnics students going to even 60-year-olds coming to understand how does a wallet work and how do I put my Bitcoin in. They had that profile back then when we did the classes.
We have other episodes with Anson as well. Do check out those other episodes on the Straits Times and the Business Times. Now, to you, our listener, we'd like to invite you to pose your own questions or scenarios to Money Hacks at podcast@sph.com.sg. That brings us to the end of this episode of Money Hacks, where we help you make sense of trends and your finances. Do note that any financial or investment information in this podcast is for use in Singapore only and is intended to be for your general information. Any particular investment or decision should only be made after consulting with a fully qualified financial advisor.